Hola, how is everybody? I hope you're well. This is Ana from Ana Guerrero's Holistic Wellbeing, and today I want to talk to you about the yin-yang / masculine-feminine imbalance in the modern world and how this energetic imbalance is manifested in modern societies and in women's health. I will be offering some suggestions at the end of the video to help with the femininity and yin deficiency. You can find these timestamps in the description box. A quick disclaimer, nothing of which I say here is the ultimate or the universal truth. And in this podcast, I am sharing my truth based on my personal experience, observation, and research. It is your responsibility to use your critical thinking and discernment. Throughout this podcast, I say man and woman to simplify my argument, but we all have masculine and feminine energies within us, and I am aware of all the different gender identifications out there, and I respect them all, whatever rocks your boat. To start with, I would like to differentiate yin from yang by naming different things we relate to one or the other. And I'll say first what's yang, and I'll follow with the yin counterpart. Energy is yang. Substance, a more material and dense kind of energy, is yin. Yang is bright. Yin is dark. Movement is yang. Quiet and rest are yin. Fire is yang. Water and fluids in general are yin. The yang is hot or warm. The yin is cold or cool. The yang is dry. The yin is wet. The sun is yang. The moon and the earth are considered yin. Yang is strong and hard. Yin is soft. Yang is active. Yin is passive. Yang is masculine. Yin is feminine. Hollow, container is yang. Yin instead is full or fullness. Spring and summer are considered yang. Winter is considered yin. The top of the trees is yang. The bottom of the trees is yin. Top of the head is also yang. Around the feet area is yin. The top of the mountains is yang. The valleys are yin. And it's said that yin gives spirit to all things. Now, the yin-yang principle was originally proposed by Zhou Yan around 3,000 years ago, and it states that all things exist as an inseparable and contradicting opposition. It is the foundation of Chinese philosophy, medicine, and culture. The two opposites attract and complement each other, and each side holds an element of the other. An imbalance arises when one becomes deficient, so the other overacts and becomes excessive in an attempt to make up for the deficiency of the counterpart. A similar thing happens when one is in excess, which suppresses its counterpart, which becomes underactive. The aim of Chinese medicine doctors and healers like myself is to balance three things mainly: the yin-yang polarity dynamics, the direction of qi. For example, acid reflux is qi traveling upwards when it's meant to be traveling downwards. We call this rebellious qi. And the third thing we work on balancing is the internal weather. In regards to the latter, the optimum state is the absence of weather. Having internal weather can manifest as empty heat or pathogenic heat, cold, damp, and wind. And within these categories, we can find damp heat, damp cold, wind heat, wind cold. For example, the common cold is characterized by an invasion of wind cold in the initial stage. Arthritis is considered damp heat. The inflammation is heat, and the fluid accumulated around the inflammation is dampness. Diarrhea or loose stools are signs of dampness, which could be due to a spleen and kidney yang deficiency. And the smelly diarrhea is a sign of damp heat. It is said that heat has a smell, a foul smell. Okay, now that we have covered the basics, let's dive into the yin-yang, masculine-feminine imbalance in the modern world. It is obvious, at least for the observant eye, that there is an excess of yang in the world. How does this manifest? By too much violence, aggressivity, dryness of the earth, too much activity, very little peace and quiet, too much light and activity when it should be dark and restful, such is the case of 24-hour cities, too much noise, not only auditive, but also visual and mental noise, too much encouragement to do, go, a lack of femininity, vulnerability, and grace, even within women, too much anger and hatred, and a feeling that nothing is sacred anymore because everything has a price tag, including children's virginity. Not that far back in time, couples with 6 children lived on one salary, whereas now women are also breadwinners as life becomes more expensive due to profit-oriented societies. It is not a secret that the feminine or yin had been suppressed for centuries and even millennia. A lot has been done to balance the scales, and as the pendulum of polarities swings, we hope to find a point of balance, stability, cooperation, and mutual understanding one day. So, talking about things that have been done to balance the polarity scales, let's talk about feminism. Feminism was a very much needed movement and awakening, which originally, and I insist originally, because after the first spark, other types of feminism have arisen, such as socialist feminism, reformist feminism, liberal or Marxist feminism. Basically, it has been politicized, which is unfortunate because once a humanist movement or idea gets politicized, it gets polarized. It becomes fragmented and sides are taken, and it becomes an excuse for people to fight among each other. Anyhow, originally, it advocated for the gender equality in socio-economic and political grounds. It is thanks to feminism that women are allowed to study, and it's not that far back in time when women were not allowed to study, and if they were found doing so or practicing science, they were punished, tortured, or even burned in public. But women now hold high positions in companies, they can be the head of a country, they own businesses, they can get out of abusive marriages, they can decide what happens to their bodies. I am talking about modern societies, okay? There are certain places in the world where women do not still have such rights. They can abort a pregnancy resulting from rape. They can take contraception, they can reject sexual intercourse, they can be child-free without being shamed or considered less than, they can drive a car, they have made and still are making great contributions to society, the economy, politics, and science. In fact, let me stop here for a minute to honor some of these female contributions. Ada Lovelace, mathematician and writer in the 1800s, was the first computer programmer. Ada proposed an analytical engine and created the first computer algorithm. Mary Curie, physicist and chemist, 1800s to 1900s, discovered radioactivity and invented a mobile X-ray unit employed during the First World War, and she won the first Nobel Prize ever won. Rosalind Franklin, chemist, 1900s, discovered the double helix structure of the DNA, another Nobel Prize. Vera Rubin, astronomer, 1900s to 2016, discovered the existence of dark matter, the glue that holds our universe together, regarded as one of the most significant discoveries of the 20th century. Jennifer Doudna, biochemist in the 1900s, was one of the primary developers of CRISPR, a groundbreaking technology for editing genomes and eradicating disease. Plus, let's not forget about other social-cultural environmental and charitable advances made or kickstarted by women through incredible acts of humanity, such as Mother Teresa of Calcutta, creating a huge impact in societies around the world, reminding us of the power of the compassionate feminine. Why do we not get to hear about these ladies in, let's say, history school books? I didn't, otherwise I swear I would remember, but none of this was mentioned when I was growing up or otherwise. Why are they not as popular as their male counterpart? I believe there are two main reasons. One, the strong male agenda. Two, the fact that men are more ego-driven, maybe, which makes them care more about power, domination, fame, being recognized, and even validated by the many. In her book, Invisible Women, Caroline Criado Perez highlights that women more often were brought into decision-making positions when they were brought into decision-making positions, collective intelligence started to undergo a remarkable shift. So once women were allowed to make contributions, societies really advanced and evolved in a more positive way. Now then, feminism was the catalyzer of needed change, but like everything, it has a dark side. It's what I call a byproduct, which is a secondary and many times a non-intentional product resulting from the primary product. The modern feminism is being weaponized by angry women against men in an attempt to suppressing them and removing them from the picture. It's more of a revenge movement than one driven by noble principles. If there is something we can take from history, is that suppression is never the solution. We see this in Western modern medicine when certain drugs are given to patients only to suppress specific chemical processes in the brain, which only manage to mask the symptoms, offering a temporary relief and failing to address the root cause of the patient's complaint, which in most cases has an energetic or emotional root. But this is a subject for another podcast. Now that women stand their ground more often, are more independent, self-sufficient, and powerful than ever, except for the ancient Egyptian Golden Age, and because of the extremist liberal feminism, a portion of the male population has grown bitter, resentful, ego-wounded, insecure, and confused. The old paradigm where they were at the top of the chain and they knew exactly where they stood in society has been demolished, for good and for bad. The rug had been pulled from under their feet, and as a result, there has been a rise of groups such as the MGTOW, men going their own way, which do not offer any viable solutions, but instead they create more separation and hatred, feeding the problem with ignorance and a lack of creativity and insight. They have become the very thing they despise. The solution is not for women to stop contributing, working, or being self-sufficient financially and independent when they need to be, as in the example of the partner passing away or ending an unfortunate marriage. She needs to be able to stand on her own feet because modern societies have lost the sense of community to the point where everyone is pretty much on their own. Due to the extremist feminism, even women struggle with embracing their own feminine and yin nature. An example, we have women on social media walking topless, shouting, "If I want to walk t-shirtless like a man, I will. Why should my body be sexualized to the point that I have to cover it as if it was shameful?" Or if I want to wear my breasts like a man, I will do. Girl, no. Let me say this again. No, no. You are only fooling yourself. Your breasts are considered accessory organs of the female reproductive system. You wouldn't walk around aiding your crotch, would you? These are intimate and delicate parts of your body. These kind of women reject the sacredness of women's nature. Remember, the yin gives spirit to all things. Plus, they are providing of awesome entertainment to men. And trust me when I say that men won't listen to you, nor will they take you seriously if you go around showing your boobs, but they'll enjoy the views nonetheless. Now, the male resentment against such pseudo-feminist shit show is encouraging them to disengage from their responsibilities and of providing safety, protecting, and offering a container in which the feminine can rest, nurture her yin, feel safe, and naturally sensual, and soften up. I don't blame them. Who would want to provide of this to that shouty, over-the-top woman showing her breasts to everybody? So a portion of the male population is like, oh yeah, you want to be independent and self-sufficient? Okay, be it. Do it all yourself. I'm out. You don't need me, do you? Okay, there you go. Do it alone. Don't count on me. Now, ladies, we need men. Maybe not to pay the bills so much nowadays, but as women, we do need our counterpart. The sense of protection, strength, containment, and much more. Men, like women, bring a lot to the table energetically. I hate it when I hear people asking, what do men or women bring to the table anyways? Ugh, boring. Women need to understand that men are not out to get them. Those times, like the Inquisition, are dead. If you look beyond the surface, you will see it all comes down to the frame of reference. The issue with policy making up until recently, and still in some spheres, is that the policy making groups were homophilic, which means that they were not diverse. It has improved much, but in the past, it was only men making the policies. They didn't intend bad for women, nor did they have a sinister agenda. They were limited as to knowing what affects women, because they all came from the same frame of reference. This is brilliantly discussed in the book Rebel Ideas, The Power of Diverse Thinking by Matthew Said. I quote, "Anybody who has spent time in Sweden will know that one of the most important local government policies is snow clearing. For decades, the snow clearing operation in Karlskoga followed what seemed a logical approach. It started with the major traffic arteries and ended with pedestrian walkways and bicycle paths. A fresh analysis revealed that the sexes, on average, travel differently. Sometimes that had not previously struck the officials. Men typically take the car to work, while women are more likely to take public transport or walk. In France, for example, 66% of public transport passengers are women, while in Philadelphia and Chicago, it is 64% and 62%. Men and women also have different travel patterns. Men tend to have a twice daily commute in and out of town in their cars. Women, who do 75% of the world's unpaid care work, tend to drop children off at school before going to work. They take an elderly relative to the doctor and do the grocery shopping on the way home. Statistics from northern Sweden showed that hospital admissions for injuries are dominated by pedestrians who are hurt 3 times more often than motorists in slippery or icy conditions. This exerts a cost in healthcare and lost productivity. According to one estimate, this accounted for 36 million kronor in Sakan county alone over the course of a single winter. This is about twice the cost of winter road maintenance. So what he's showing here is what I've just said. You know, the policymaker groups, when they are homophilic or homogenic and there is no diversity, they don't tend to understand, you know, they don't have a bigger picture. So that's what happens. Now, Matthew Said also says, quote, diversity isn't some optional add-on. It isn't the icing on the cake. Rather, it is the basic ingredient of collective intelligence, end quote. Now, an incredibly unfortunate symptom of the excess of yang and the lack of yin or spirit / sacredness is fatherlessness. Some women have misunderstood women's liberation when it comes to sexuality. Girls are starting to have sexual intercourse from an earlier age than, let's say, 30 years ago. There are more young pregnancies as well. Children are being born into families that, well, they aren't even families. This is due to a lack of home-based education of values. Not only young, but older women and men have taken sex as a sport or an entertainment. Such is the case of dating, or the dating picture we have these days. Online dating in particular. Online dating feeds the issue of avoidance of the sacred, avoidance of our own emotions and other people's emotions. One can view an online dating profile as a product. One can scroll, swipe left or right, pick and choose, today with this one, tomorrow with that one. The sacredness of two people connecting through lovemaking is being hindered by a focus on temporary satisfaction and ego stroking. The dating scene is completely yang-oriented. It's shallow. It's for collectors, not purists. It's about conquering, accumulating, more, quantity over quality. It's become just another filler, a distraction from looking within and addressing a core sense of lack of spirit / yin. Said this, I know people using these apps in search of true love and companionship. Statistics show a 60% increase of fatherlessness in the last 40 years. This is not only due to men not stepping up to the plate, but also due to the court system pretty much automatically giving custody of the children to the mom. This blind eye from the justice system discriminates men as it sees them as irresponsible and unable to emotionally nurturing a child because that's considered a feminine trait. It seems that because men have been providing for their families for centuries and millennia, that they are now limited to being a money cow when it comes to children's custody. The role of emotional care is given to the mom and the financial care role is given to the dad. And it takes a lot for a good dad to get more time with their children due to these limitations. It is relevant to mention, however, that the bond between mom and child is naturally stronger, but there are also women that use their children to get more child support money from their ex-partners. And in many cases, the welfare of children is overlooked, even by their moms. And in the end, because women have to work to support families and live a man's life, who's really taking care of these children? The government? Ooh, we are doomed. On one of these statistics, articles I came across while doing this research proposed a solution, which seemed to me more of a joke. So they proposed to encourage marriage by offering more tax benefits and things of the kind. So again, this is a profit-oriented solution. So it's about what I get. So what do I get if I marry? What do I get if I stay married? I mean, this is not real solution for two people to stay together when they are bloody miserable, okay? Because even if they are, even more if there are children involved, I think it's best for these two to separate. The solution is to become more holistic when it comes to the court system and children's custody. And yeah, maybe anyways, I'm going to leave that one there. So again, I'm making huge generalizations. I know single moms and single dads that are doing a fantastic job raising the future generations. The way I see it, they are the real heroes of modern societies, hands down. Men have suffered greatly too, doing the heavy and dirty jobs, midnight shifts, long lorry driving hours through the night, cleaning cities, drain clearing, building cities with their bare hands. Also being stripped off from their own feminine/yin energy, stripped off from their roles as protectors and providers by women taking it too far. And also by social infrastructures, such as the court system, as I just mentioned. Men are shamed when showing emotion, softness, compassion. They suffer in silence the pain of depression, anxiety, loneliness, and much more. However, change is being made. More and more men and women are awakening to the negative impact of long-term suppression of the feminine/yin. Men now understand the value of gathering in open-minded, religious, spiritual communities where they are encouraged to open up and come into communion with both their masculine and feminine energies. And let me break down the word communion: cooperation, community, union. Now, two friends of mine run this type of workshops for men, and it really makes my heart sing of joy to know that this is happening. And I thank you guys for doing this. So one of the consequences of the later waves of feminism is that women are expected to engage with their young energy more often than it is healthy for them to do so. Women have become highly competitive, aggressive, cold, hardened. They are encouraged to push, chase, go, achieve, conquer, provide, and protect. The modern woman has become a superhuman at a cost. We are expected to do all this even when we are bleeding. In this stage of the menstrual cycle, women should be resting, taking it easy, retreating, nourishing with the right foods to replenish the lost blood instead of behaving like men. I'll tell you what that's like, just in case men out there cannot understand due to limited frame of reference. When you are in the bleeding stage, you feel dizzy, you feel weak, you feel heavy. You may be in pain, excruciating pain for some. You may suffer from migraines, which can be quite disabling. Head fogginess. You may feel emotional, frustrated. You have to be careful not to stain any of your clothes. You spend a considerable amount of money every year in female sanitizing products. And it can be quite inconvenient when you have to run around and travel for business meetings, for example, and life in general. And yet we are expected to act like nothing is happening, which is a huge exercise of avoidance towards our own feminine nature. This time of the month should be sacred. Ancient cultures knew this. Women on the yin stage of their cycle gathered together to support one another and perform healing rituals. They even considered the period blood to have magical qualities. In those ancient cultures, there was a bigger emphasis in worshiping the feminine, the earth, the moon, and nature in general. It would be wonderful if we, as a modern society, could recover some of these values. Maybe the employment policies could consider allowing women with severe PMT, premenstrual tension, to rest for a few days. Or self-employed women could consider reducing their workload during the bleeding as a way of self-care and self-preservation. But how can we now, after all the fuss created by extremist feminism, how can we now propose this? If we ladies rise up to this in order to honor our feminine, men will be like, fuck it. I'll jump on the next UFO and leave. But let's face it, men and women are different, and we must learn to honor the differences as opposed to ignoring them or suppressing them. Of course, we all want the same opportunities for all genders. I understand how hard it must be for men to understand what women go through every month, but it's something we don't choose. We are bonded to the cycles of nature, and so are men, but their manifestations of these aren't that strong. Now, because the period and other hormonal processes don't happen to men, they tend to overlook it and remove importance. Just like when people say that there is no racism anymore. Tell that to a Black person and listen to what they say about that. Matthew Said, in his book Rebel Ideas, uses a beautiful analogy. Two fish swimming along, la 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 la. And an older fish passes by and asks them, so boys, how is the water today? The two fish look at each other and say, what water? Right? So it's not that men schedule to consciously ignore women's issues. It's just that they come from a different frame of reference, as I explained earlier. This is why open dialogue about these issues is so important. I think it was about a year ago when I read an article stating that employers were considering PMT as a reason for offering women paid days of work, something on the lines of sick pay. So the dialogue has started, which is good. This could complicate things for employers for obvious reasons, though. This, added to the fact that women may cancel days or hours of work due to child sickness and other unpredicted events, doesn't look too encouraging to employers when it comes to hiring women. Maybe child-related responsibilities could be spread more evenly between the man and the woman, so that it's not always her who has to call off work. But in many cases, the job of the dad is more stable and solid. So, you know, they would rather not touch that one. And so they would rather be the woman, the mom who comes, who calls work, say, you know, I have to cancel today because of this and that, because my child is or that. So either we spread the responsibility more evenly, or we may end up with a society and a workforce dominated by men again in the future, which is fine for as long as it's a conscious progression from where we've come from. Or it could be also, and it is happening, that new kinds of jobs or new job roles are being created which suit women's and families' needs. This will be a holistic evolution of the economy. Now, let's mention some of the health disorders which affect women due to the excess of yang in terms of Chinese medicine. So, premenstrual migraines. These are kidney deficiency type of headaches and occur around 2 days prior to bleeding and or during the first 2 to 3 days of the bleeding. The theory behind this type of headache, and this is what my final dissertation for college was about, is that estrogen is a yin substance. The levels of estrogen drop just before the bleeding. This yin deficiency causes a lack of anchoring of the yang, which as a result shoots up towards the top of the body, the head, causing the headache. The drop of estrogen levels is a natural event, but when added to the fact that women live yang-oriented lives, this imbalance becomes exacerbated. This is being observed, it is being observed that these types of headache are becoming more common among women, also between periods. And my theory is that they are caused and exacerbated by an excess of yang. Now, liver yin deficiency type of headache. Again, this refers to a vacuity of yin, this time in the liver, which is considered a yin organ in Chinese medicine. This causes the liver yang to rise up to the head via the gallbladder channel, which is why these headaches are felt around the sides of the head, where the gallbladder channel runs. Statistics show that women suffer from headaches more than men, and it is on the increase. Premenstrual tension or PMT. There are both yin and yang stages in women's cycles. The yin stage goes from day 1 to day 14 or so, and the yang stage goes from around day 14 to the next bleed. The yang qi needs to be at healthy levels. Remember that yang is action, movement, and it pushes. So the yang qi needs to be at a healthy level in order to push the blood out, in order to transform into yin itself. Now, PMT is tightly linked to liver qi stagnation. And as I said earlier, the liver is considered a yin organ. And two of the main functions of the liver in Chinese medicine are to rule the smooth flow of qi throughout the body and to store blood, a yin substance, which is then sent to the uterus to help flush the old cells from the lining of the womb. If the liver qi is stagnated due to a lack of smoothness in one's life, then PMT happens. So calm and relaxation are key to a healthy liver qi. So more of a yin energy in one's life does benefit the nervous system and the liver qi. Hot flashes. This happens in menopause when the estrogen levels drop. The cause is a depletion of yin, which makes sense when you consider that women bleed every single month of most of their lives. And again, the yang rises up, causing the hot sweats, the mental confusion, and the anxiety, among other issues. But focusing on the hot flushes. Some of my clients experience outrageous hot flushes. And when I ask them about the kind of life they led, the common denominator is a very busy life. Always on the go, always putting others first, and very little rest. Menopause is a natural event in women's life, but symptoms of an excess of heat due to a yin deficiency are becoming more frequent among women aged 38 to 35, way before menopause is meant to hit a woman's life. Chronic fatigue syndrome or CFS and adrenal exhaustion. For what I have read and observed in my practice, this disorder is common among women who have abused their yang/masculine energy for a long period of time. Check out my podcast, The Mind-Body Connection in Health and Illness, where Leandra tells us about her journey with CFS. And fortunately, hers is a success story, but for many, CFS remains chronic for different factors. There has been a rise in CFS in women in the last 30 years, and it affects more women than men by far. Hypothyroidism, again, more common in women and on the rise. Because we live rather fast-paced lives, the woman's body gets to a point where it decides to slow down the production of certain hormones. This is because of the sustained fight or flight response, a sign of an overloaded sympathetic nervous system. You probably remember some fall or accident when you felt as if you felt down, as if time slowed down. This perception as you're falling down uh, is the result of a specific chemical process from our defense mechanism, which allows us to plan the best outcome in a very short period of time. So if we perceive danger on a continuous basis, the body will react by slowing down. And what can we do about this systemic yin and yang, masculine feminine imbalance in the modern societies? Well, there are medical disciplines such as Chinese medicine, Ayurveda, homeopathy, talking therapies, neurolinguistic programming, nutritionists, meditation, shamanism, and many other healing modalities which can help restore homeostasis in our body and at an energetic level. And normally, a well-being plan includes a mixture of these. However, the real change can only come from a conscious, creative, active and explorative process of change of mind state or mindset. This requires a level of commitment and transpersonal work towards growth and expansion of the horizons, which in many cases involves the acknowledgement of our own shortcomings, traumas, self-limiting beliefs, indoctrination, and social, cultural, or familial programming. So let's look at ways in which we can nurture the yin and celebrate our femininity. Beauty rituals. Woman, set yourself a few or at least one slot a week to pamper yourself. Steam your face, use a face mask, then do yourself a face massage with your favorite moisturizer, have a candlelit bath with salts and essential oils, and why not add a few rose petals, Before each bath or shower, do some dry skin brushing too. Take as long as you want or can. Women with small children might not be able to spend that much time or to do this regularly, but I am sure they can work something out, even if it's just once a month, but set yourself a beauty pampering slot, okay? Now, another way of nurturing your feminine or yin is expressing your sensuality. Be sensual with your partner. It's a tricky one because you may not feel like having sex or too sensual with your partner if you live under the same roof and yet you live separate lives. The lack of interaction between the polarities causes a lack of friction. So it's nice to do things together now and then, and so that you can feel each other's energies and tune into that and be stimulated by it, by each other's energies. A little playfulness, a cheeky smile, a wink, seduce him. But also don't just give it to him. You do not have to spell it for him. No need to be too obvious. Women love mystery. Allow him to want more and court you so that you can also feel seduced, pursued, and like you want it. Okay? You know what I'm saying? Now, many mistake sensuality for sex. Sensuality doesn't depend on anything external. Instead, it's an innate feminine energy we can also observe in nature, like flowers with their beautiful, vibrant colors, with their centers open, shameless exuberance, gorgeous, sweet fragrances. And they are like, here, smell me, indulge in my nectar. But they don't move, they are just open to life. Sensuality is an energy that comes from within, which makes even walking a sensual festival. Rejoice in your sensual energy when you interact with your partner and otherwise as well for yourself. Another way of nurturing your yin is walks in nature. Open up to feeling your connection with Mother Nature. Breathe in the greenery. By the way, green is the color of universal love and it's connected to the heart chakra. Feel the soft, cool soil under your bare feet. Stop and smell the flowers. Observe the incredible creative diversity of nature. You won't see two leaves that look the exact same. Connecting with the natural diversity is very soul and mind expanding. Listen to the flowing creek, to the bird song. Indulge in the exuberance of Mother Nature's sensuality. Resting is obviously very, very important and a beautiful, easy way of nurturing your yin. It's okay if you have to go out there and run on yang energy if you must, and or because you enjoy it. But you owe it to yourself, to your partner, your children, and even society in general to make sure that you take time to unwind and rest, especially during the bleeding stage of your cycle. Set aside a few minutes a day alone in silence. Allow yourself to empty your head, feel your breathing, soften up, and arrive. I'll say that again. Arrive. Arrive back to your most proximal home, your body, your sacred vessel, away from the etheric, busy mind. Come back to your own skin and be present. In that space, nurture feelings of love for yourself and others, especially for the people you feel conflicted about. Practice forgiveness and gratitude. Let go of resentment and bitterness and allow any hard emotions to travel through your body as opposed to holding onto them, because this is how we end up with tension and pain and injuries. Another way of nurturing your yin is allowing the masculine energies around you to hold you and to help you. Be vulnerable. Release yourself from the need and load of having to be strong for everyone all the time. If you come back home and you feel frustrated because of some unfair event at work, instead of being snappy with your partner and family, consider doing this instead. You can tell him that you need a little time for yourself alone so that you can process the hardness and get back to your softness. Okay? Or you can ask him to hold you for a good long minute if you find that you get to your soft state more easily this way than on your own. Being held by your man brings a feeling of safety, protection, and containment, which allows women to drop the nagging, the snapping, the fight or flight mode, and frustration in general. And it has been proven that a good felt hug releases endorphins and other happy hormones. Another thing you can do is nurturing your female friendships and relationships with your mom, sister, and daughter. Spend time with other women. If you, for some reason, don't have any female friends and you are far away from your mom and sister, join a monthly women's circle. They are very popular and a great way of connecting with other women and to healing the sisterhood wound. Also go for massages or beauty treatments that make you feel relaxed, pain-free, taken care of, and uplifted. Also, understand that men are not out to get you, okay, ladies? You need to understand this, because when dealing with men, if you are in the state of thinking that they are out to get you, then you are on the fight or flight mode, okay? And so understand that they are not out to get you. Lower your defenses a notch or two. With all my respect and the love I have for men, they are rather simple creatures, okay? Who don't like complications. Trust me, they don't mean to upset you on purpose, so don't take it personally. If anything offends you, reply with a little wit and banter and move on. No need to wear the sympathetic nervous system on your sleeve like ninja stars, you know? Um, I mean, if it's something quite grave, then by all means, step up and stand up and do whatever you have to do. But if it's just like them uh, having a laugh and a little banter, then go along. It's guys are guys, women are women. Let the guys be guys, right? Now, after each monthly bleeding and or during, eat a good homemade bone marrow broth. And choose saucy meals to replenish the lost fluids as opposed to dry meals. The Chinese insist a lot on this one. And this is something that the Western doctors should mention, at least, after each bleed. I mean, you don't hear Western medicine saying, yeah, ladies, you need to eat properly, eat this and that after each period. No, they don't give a penny. They don't give a penny. Women's health is still a little bit on the bottom of the priorities of Western medicine. It is improving, yes, but there's still a bit of a way to go. Find natural and non-toxic remedies for your pain, both physical and emotional. I like boiling a few star anise seeds to reduce inflammation on the first day of the bleed. I love fennel tea as well, it's anti-inflammatory. Cinnamon and ginger are also anti-inflammatory. Take food supplements and B vitamins to support your busy life. If you struggle with period pain, there's a very effective acupressure point just below the medial malleolus or ankle on the inside of your leg, the yin side of the leg, in fact. It's called kidney 6. You can Google this to know exactly what it is. You can massage this point for a few minutes and notice the pain fade away. I love this point. It's so effective. Now, how can men help? And, obviously, I would appreciate any input from a male perspective as well, yeah, it would be nice to share this podcast or to expand the conversation on this topic with a man. So I might do that in the future. Let me know what you think. How can men help with this excess yang in the world and deficiency of yin? So men could honor their feminine energy by being open to dialogue and receptive. Men just have this feeling that if they open their mouth, they're going to be reprimanded. it's probably, is funded and in real grounds because society has been telling men that they are to not express themselves. But as we grow out of these beliefs, more men are understanding that it is no good for anybody. So men could honor their feminine energy by being open to dialogue and receptive to other people's energies, not so much just their belly button. Okay, moving on. Gathering with other men in a supportive, open setting as an opportunity to check in. Understanding that what women go through with their hormonal changes and offer more support. Maybe cook something nice for her when she's feeling tired or heavy due to her period, or put a blanket over her when chilling out on the sofa together. Don't take her short temper personally, but instead see it as an opportunity to assert your masculinity by, for example, saying, come here, you, and give her a melting hug. Even if it means being a little rough with her in order to pull her into your arms if she's trying to escape. Trust me, we love this. When she's in your arms, she won't have any other choice but to soften up. And her mood will change, and you'll feel like a bloody king because you managed to shift her energy like that. That's you taking charge of the situation and a way of honoring your masculine. Simply put, make her feel careful. Now, another way of balancing the scales is the masculine, has to rise up and anchor the feminine in ways other than suppressing and avoiding. Men can offer containment by being truly present. Men can offer protection and safety. The feminine is very sensitive to this energy. This type of energy causes women to ease off and disengage from the fight or flight mode. When she feels seen by her partner, when she feels safe around him because she knows he's got her best interest at heart, when she feels that he cares, she feels in good hands. And so the edges are smoothed. And she allows herself to be gracefully vulnerable, sensual, loving. She feels happier due to the chemical releases. And you, as a man, feed on such energy. It's called some symbiosis. Now, when she deals with an insecure or resented man, a man who pulls away, keeps her at arm's distance, doesn't show her in whatever love language that he cares for her needs in the relationship dynamic, or if he's in the victim mode, then her energy shifts to the masculine by default. To the pursuer or chaser, she might become overgiving as a way of providing, right? Or over emotional because she doesn't feel anchored. Women who are aware of this polarity shift may leave the relationship in order to preserve their femininity, their yin, and their mental health. On the other hand, there are women who are more masculine and will deal with this okay and turn it into a success. And also there are men who are more feminine and need a more dominant partner. Either way, it's neither good or bad. It really comes down to knowing oneself and being sensitive to the energies and the dynamics, the patterns, and what one wants and doesn't want, so that one makes the best choice for oneself. Now, a man may feel insecure at some point in his life due to circumstances, and that doesn't mean that he doesn't deserve X, Y, or Z. The same goes for women, So in this case, she can offer support by temporarily engaging more with her masculine energy in order to hold the space for him. Masculine and feminine, yin and yang, are in constant fluidity. We know in Chinese medicine, the yin turns into yang and the yang turns into yin. And it is not healthy to stay stuck on one or the other simply to make a point or statement on how masculine I am or how feminine I am, because that will cause men to be closed off, lacking openness, for example, and it will cause women to be irrational and entitled, It is also the case that men who grew up without a father figure, or the father was detached or emotionally unavailable towards the mother and the child, they have a hard time owning to their own masculinity due to the lack of example. But that doesn't mean they can't learn it for themselves later in life. And women a woman who grows up without with this kind of father as well, who failed to make her feel protected and safe, may grow to have an overactive masculine energy and view their own femininity as a weakness. Again, this can be healed, and I talk from experience. So I'm going to leave it here. I hope you enjoyed this and can take something out of it. A lot has been discussed. I hope I haven't been too political, because that's not my thing. So yeah, I hope you have a good day, night, wherever you are in the world. Take care of yourself. Kiss, kiss, bye-bye.